What's up guys, Smile Steve 95 Mac, and if you're a fan of good ideas, consider subscribing to the channel for future content like this. I figured it was time that we finally talk about the upcoming iPhone lineup because there are a few major changes that we should be expecting this year. The notch is going away, we're expecting 8K video recording for the Pro models, and it looks like one of your favorite iPhone form factors is finally getting put to bed. So let's dive in. Once again, we're expecting 4 iPhone models to make an appearance this year, but unfortunately for my iPhone mini fans, I've got some bad news. Apple is essentially killing off the iPhone mini, and it will essentially be replaced by an iPhone Max model. So we can expect 2 6.1-inch models and 2 6.7-inch models. And I honestly think this makes a lot of sense because while there are a lot of people who claim they want a mini-sized iPhone, if you go out in public and see what iPhones people are rocking, 7 out of 10 times they've got the larger Pro Max model, if they have a Pro model at all, myself included. And although we're expecting 6.1 and 6.7-inch iPhones, all of the models may be slightly taller to accommodate the new design that's going to replace the notch, and let's get into that now. If you've been following the iPhone rumors thus far, you've probably heard that the notch is going to be going away after 5 long years of the iPhone more or less rocking the same design on the front. They're going to be getting rid of the notch in favor of a pill-shaped cutout that should give you a lot more screen real estate. There have been leaked schematics and images being posted all year by various leakers, and all the different images are showing off the same general design, so I think the notch going away this year is a sure thing. And while it may look a little awkward in these leaked images, I think the final product should look pretty decent. Now, a very interesting tidbit that we heard from our guy Ming-Chi Kuo is that Apple's going to stagger the processors for the iPhone 14 lineup. Apparently, the standard 14 models are going to stick with the existing A15 chip, and the Pro models are going to get the upgraded A16 chip. And this is interesting because Apple's never done this before, and I wonder if this is more of like a marketing strategy or a result of supply chain constraints, chip shortages, etc. I think it could very well be a combination of both, but I think it's mostly an attempt from Apple to further separate the standard and Pro model iPhones. Ming-Chi Kuo specifically stated that the biggest differences will be the RAM types. Despite his claims that all 4 models will still have 6 gigs of RAM, the 14 and 14 Pro Max should feature DDR5 memory, while the standard models will stick with DDR4. Will the A16 processor be light years ahead of A15 in terms of performance because of this one specific aspect? Probably not, but there are probably specific attributes that the A16 will have that support specific features that'll be exclusive to the Pro models, mainly the camera system, which we're going to get into next. Now, the feature that I'm probably the most excited for is the rumored 48 megapixel wide-angle camera module that should be coming to the 14 Pro models exclusively, and that 48 megapixel should allow for 8K video recording. Apple's never been the kind of company to chase megapixels just because, like, you know, certain companies, so I think it's a sure thing that we'll be getting 8K video recording if we are getting this larger sensor. Now, there are some people who may not see the value in 8K video recording on their smartphone, and to be honest, there isn't a need per se, but other smartphone brands like Samsung have been putting 8K video in their smartphones for almost a few years now. And of course, the 8K functionality is still very limited on those smartphones, but that's where I think Apple's gonna come in and change the game. I overall very much trust Apple's marketing ability to make you feel like you need 8K video. But speaking of needing things, this is probably something we'll have to get if we are going to be getting 8K video on the Pro iPhones. A sentiment that's been echoed for a while now is that Apple would rather go portless with the iPhone than switch to USB-C or Thunderbolt. But based on leaks and tidbits from pretty reliable sources, I don't think we should expect a portless iPhone this year at all. MagSafe and their current wireless standards that are in place just don't make sense as a permanent replacement for Lightning. And when circling back to the video recording, let's just remember for a second how it takes a literal eternity to transfer 4K ProRes videos to your computer or another device over AirDrop. So if theoretically we are going to get 8K ProRes video recording on the iPhone, we're gonna need something along the lines of Thunderbolt or USB-C if you want to reasonably transfer footage to a computer or someone else. And currently, there's no hard evidence that Apple's gonna make that switch and finally put Lightning to bed, but I think it only makes sense. Lightning is literally gonna be 10 years old this fall, so I think a decade is long enough for what's essentially a USB 2.0 port on an $1,000 smartphone. This is a bit of an aside, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a guy who took an iPhone 10, took out the Lightning port, and swapped it out for a functioning USB Type-C port. He then went on to put that iPhone on eBay, and it sold for over $86,000. $8,000. So I know Apple is very much a company motivated by money just as much as it should be motivated by just innovating. So if that doesn't tell you that we want USB-C on the iPhone, I don't know what will, Apple. The pandemic was definitely a game changer as far as the way we value biometric authentication. And since the iPhone 12, basically users have been hoping for Touch ID to make a return on the iPhone. And there's a few examples of how this could be done quite simply. The iPad Air features Touch ID in the power button, and so you'd think that Apple would do something like that to kind of meet us in the middle, but apparently Apple's way of meeting users in the middle is by pushing out an update that allows Face ID to work with a mask on, and so far that feature has been pretty meh to use in the real world, but unfortunately that's what we're going to have to deal with for now, because apparently we will not be getting Touch ID in the iPhone lineup this year, and that's disappointing for sure, but it's not really the end of the world in my opinion. I think everything we're expecting to get on the new iPhones looks pretty good, but here's everything that I personally want to see in the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro in order to make it a 10 out of 10 upgrade in my opinion. Firstly, I think MagSafe and the charging prowess of the iPhone needs a bit of an upgrade in general. These smartphones are out here with 40 and 65 watt charging speeds, and I'm not saying that the iPhone needs to have that exactly, but realistically MagSafe gets you like a little under 20 watts, and it's not slow, but it's definitely not fast, and I think a faster MagSafe charger would be great. Secondly, Thunderbolt on the Pro models and USB-C on the standard models. The Lightning port is coming up on 10 years old, like I said. And so if we're gonna be upping the video recording and charging on these phones, then I think USB-C is a necessity. Apple's already folded on USB-C for the Mac and the iPad, so they just need to make the switch and unify all of their hardware. Lastly, I think an overall image quality improvement for the ultra-wide angle lens on the iPhone would be stellar. I absolutely love the versatility of the ultra-wide lens on the iPhone. I use it all the time, but every time I switch to it from the main lens, that drop in quality is just so apparent, and it'd be absolutely fire if Apple made it so that the difference in quality between all the lenses on the iPhone wasn't as noticeable. But outside of that, I think the camera setup is in pretty good shape. But overall, I'm pretty excited for the new iPhones, honestly more than I was for the 13 lineup, and I think if they hit everything we touched on in this video, Apple's gonna once again have a very good Q3 and Q4. But what feature are you excited for the most with the iPhone 14? Are you looking forward to getting the standard model or the Pro model? Let us know in the comment section down below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe for future content like this, because when the iPhone inevitably does drop, we're of course gonna have our full review, coverage, comparisons, all that good stuff. Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys in the next one.